What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Master the NEC and Fast Tracks Live and Coffee Hour with Paul over on our YouTube channel, Master the NEC, as well as streaming over on Fast Tracks Tube or Fast Tracks TV or electriciantube.com. Many ways that you can watch over on that platform. If you haven't tried it out, please feel free to try it out. If you're new to the coffee hour with me here in the morning at 8 a.m., please do me a favor, shout out in the comments. Let us know where you're from. We'd love to hear from you. As always, our effort is to try to teach you a little something every morning and answer questions. Again, if you have detailed questions that you need to, it's going to take a lot of further detail to discuss, then we highly recommend that you use our feature over on paulabernathy.com. Most certainly recommend that. Do a little bit of adjustment here this morning. They raise me up. I'm a little low today, it seems. I don't know why that was low. But anyway. So welcome. Welcome to the stream. All right. So first and foremost, I want to thank everybody as we get close to the holiday season. I want to thank everybody for all of their support that they've given us here at Electrical Code Academy, all the courses that people have bought through the year, and all of our products that are over, all of our swag, things like that. We have new swag coming next year with new designs. I'm working on some new designs, so that'll be great. And we're also, as always, trying to work with our vendors to bring the prices down. I'm always trying to bring things down. So hopefully we can bring some of that stuff down so you can get some neat swag, that type. And they're also adding a possible feature to be able to customize your swag so that you can have a shirt with one of our logos or one of our designs, Master Electrician, and you can add name to it. So it'd be great to do that, to get shirts for your employees and stuff like that and have their name put on it. But we're working on that. So anyway, thanks for joining me. Again, as always, in the comments, you're going to ask a question. Again, let me know where you're from, where you're watching from, and we'll give you a shout out. And that's what we're going to do today. So today's topic, I wanted to talk a little bit about leadership and leadership motives. Of course, we can go to the code, pretty much go to anything you want. But today I want to talk about what motivates people within a company to become a leader. But again, don't think at any time you don't have a question, you want to type it in the chat, feel free to do so. Before we do that, it's probably cool to go over and see what it actually looks like over on our Fast Tracks Tube platform, in case you're interested in watching over there. Some people want to know what it looks like. So let me make sure I go there and let me share it. So this is what it looks like for those that aren't familiar with it. As you can see right here, you can scroll down. You can still get to everything. This is where you go if you want to watch some of our webinars that are put on Fast Tracks Tube. But videos, and here's where you can see the podcast. You can listen to podcasts here. You listen to all my podcasts by clicking all podcasts. But we also have series that you can listen to and watch, things like that. And this is where your membership plans are, in case you're interested in any of that type of stuff. But anyway, this is the player, and it's a cool player. Again, you can share. We encourage people to share by clicking these share options. Let other people know about the player. And obviously, you can join me here every morning, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Okay? All right, just wanted to kind of get that out of the way. That is the unique player that we have over on Fast Tracks Tube. And we're also expanding that out even more with more stuff coming next year. So be excited for that. All right, let's get into it. So talking about whether you're in your company, I had somebody also, let's do some emails real quick, just so I can answer some questions. I had an email that was sent to me and I answered it. It said, says, hello, I'm a third-year apprentice. My question is that when I ground a metal box, can I loop around the ground screw with the incoming cable? So I think you mean incoming conductor, not cable. Is that a code violation? A lot of electricians told me, no, it's not a code violation, just a bad practice. Other electricians said, yes, it's a violation. Okay, so basically you're talking about bringing your cables into the box and then taking your equipment grounding conductor and wrapping it around the green screw, let's say, that's in the back of a metal box. Can you do that? Absolutely you can. It doesn't matter as long as you're bonding that box and you're meeting 250-148, as long as you're still maintaining the length of free conductor that you need. If you want to do that, that's fine. So I did have some advice for him, and this is advice I'll give to all people that are in the trade, and whether you're an apprentice, is not about the grounding part. It's about listening to what other people say. Obviously, in that question, the best advice I can give to a young, impressionable apprentice or somebody new in the trade is don't believe everything that everybody tells you. 95% of the time, they're full of shit, and they can't back up anything they say. They just basically say it's what they heard from the person that taught them, or they read it somewhere on social media, because we're proliferated with social media now, that people say things and they have no real way of quantifying it. I mean, that can be proven every single day by going on TikTok. You go on TikTok. Now, people ask me a couple things I'll clear up for those that do watch me or follow me on TikTok, is they say, why don't you respond to the requests for chats? First of all, I have no desire to chat, because the people that are reaching out, if you're asking me code questions, just go to paulabernathy.com. That's what we set it up for. Secondly, I am not interested in getting into a back and forth banter with somebody. I've been doing this for over 38 years. If I put something out there, I believe it. No sense in trying to convince me otherwise. Okay? I wouldn't put it out there if I didn't wholeheartedly believe what I put out, that type of thing. So again, don't waste your breath. Now, I don't interact on chats. Now, I do when I'm doing a live. If I'm asking you to pose questions, then I'm more than happy to interact. It seems like some people can't understand that concept on social media, most certainly TikTok. So I'm a one and doneer. So that, just so people know, I am a one and done. Means that if you respond back with a comment that is just out there, or you're trying to be flippant or whatever, and I just don't like it, there's a high probability that I'll just block you and just move on. I don't have the bandwidth for it nor the time to deal with it, that type of thing. It's where I'm at now after that many years of teaching. Okay, just don't have the desire. But again, I do answer questions. Y'all know that. So when you catch me on a live, or you want to send me something over email, if you email it to the company, there's a high probability that I might not see it, because I do have people that filter those things. If you want to make sure that I see it, then you send it to paulabernathy.com, and that gets only one person filters those. Okay, it's Darlene, and then she will push them off to me if she thinks they're important. She's been doing this for a long time. Her memory is getting worse, but she's good at looking at these things and sending them to me. So hopefully that's the way to reach out to me. Okay. So to answer the gentleman's question, again, if you have a metal box and you have to bond that metal box because you're doing splices in that box, obviously you're making up joints in that box. That was your question. Can I come in and take one of the equipment grounds and wrap it around the ground screw and then bring it out and connect it to the other equipment grounds, or come out and connect it to a pigtail, drag a pigtail over to a device? Absolutely. Absolutely you can. Okay? As long as you've got your free conductor, which applies to the bare conductor as well, or insulated green or whatnot, perfectly fine. As long as you've got your free conductor to work with, that is not a problem. Okay? As long as the screw or a clip is listed for the application and it's for bonding and it meets 250.8 as well as the other requirements of code, it's not a problem with that. Okay? So that question, definitely wanted to make sure that I answered that question for that gentleman. Okay? Also, we did have, let's see here. There was another one I thought Darlene had sent me. Let me look real quick. If you have any other questions, feel free to post them in the comments. I'm more than happy to talk about anything that you want to talk about. Let's see here. Okay, I guess she didn't send me any to talk about this morning. They're all stuff that I have to answer in the comments. Okay, I mean by email to paulabernathy.com. So it looks like that's where everything is. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. There is one here. It says, okay, it says, Paul, to the electrical industry. What do you recommend I do to get started in really learning electrical and the code? Thanks in advance, and I'm so blessed to have found your podcast. I listen to it every day on the way to the job site. Wow, okay, great. So, by the way, if you do listen to our podcast, we had 2 new episodes come out this weekend, so make sure you go check them out. And usually I'm pretty good topics. One of the topics this weekend was revisiting the EMT securing. That one is kind of funny to me because there is a video I have on TikTok on it, a short video. It brings out the whack jobs. It really does bring out the whack jobs. It still boggles the mind to think that if I have 2 cabinets 30 inches apart and I have a piece of EMT between it and I have a fitting on each end of the EMT that's set screwed or compression to the EMT, so it's firmly in place, and then that fitting is lock nutted to a fixed cabinet, which is required to be securely fastened and secure in place. Okay. At what point do they think that you need another strap? And so the guys and gals that want to argue that are just lost in this, and it's a high probability that they will never understand the NEC. If they're so lost in not understanding that concept, that other panel or that other cabinet or box is only 30 inches away, and the code says that EMT has to be secured within 3 feet of the termination. Well, if you're at box A and you're looking at box B and it's only 30 inches away and the raceway is secured to the fitting, which is secured to a box that's required to be secured, you've met the securely fastened requirement. There's nothing in there that says it has to have a strap or a Kindorf. It just says it has to be securely fastened. Well, it is. It's within 30 inches. You know what I mean? So it's that type of thing. It's just incredible that we run into that type of stuff. Dan says, how do we find out if a screw is listed to hold bare wire wrapped around it? Well, most of those screws for boxes, Dan, are going to be green, okay, in the box for that application. And usually you're going to have something on the actual box that they come in that'll tell you that it is either listed or identified for grounding purposes, maybe under UL 486 or something like that. So that's typically what you're going to see. But when you go looking at the bonding in the box, typically the green screws with green finish, typically you already know those are going to be okay for the box, that type of thing. So that's typically how you would tell if that's the case. Okay, so that's how I'd say. But one good thing to always do is make sure you ask your supply house before it. And now, does that always mean that they know all the answers? Probably not. We've encountered that before, right? Whereas we're dealing with a supply house and we're not 100% sure they know what they're talking about. And you certainly don't want to ask that question at a big box store, right? It's not the thing you want to do. So hold on here. Let me see if I can show another area. Let's see here. Let's see. Hold on here. I want to show you another area. So there's area actually also where's the other requirement for to have a green screw? Okay, because again, the box ones are, you can get the greens, but they're not necessarily required to be green. But the device ones are, right? So when you see that on the device, so let's just go over here. Let's share this one instead. So here, so this is actually on a device, which is not the same in the box. Okay, but these do require the green color, right? But there's no requirement for that screw in that box to be green, as long as that screw is threaded and it's a threaded entry and you meet the requirements of 250.8. But you can also buy the little clips that are evaluated for that as well, listed for that. So look for those type of things. But typically, you can buy the box of screws that are designed for that application, and you wouldn't have any issue with anything. Let's see here. Come back. Let's see, what do we got here? Isaac. Good morning, Paul. I should also say, Dan, yeah, and we want to make sure, we have to remember that in that 250-148, and might be good to show that since I'm just we're going to talk about really quickly about leadership here in a second, but I love the questions, so we want to go look at this. All right, and let me just share this with you really quickly, and I will get you, Isaac, I promise. Let's go here. All right, so continuity of the equipment grounded conductors and attachment to boxes. Again, all equipment grounded conductors that are spliced or terminated within the box shall be connected together. Connections and splicing shall be made in accordance with 110.14b and 250.8. That's that list of acceptable methods. Okay, and here is, again, metal box. A connection used for no other purpose shall may be made between the metal box and the equipment grounded conductors. Okay, so that would be a listed clip. They make those little clip over clips that you can use. Many people don't like those, but they make them. But again, you can use a screw that is threaded. So when it makes a reference, for example, to 250.8, then we can come and see that we have other different methods. So we can use a machine screw fastener that engages not less than 2 threads or are secured by a nut, okay? But necessarily doesn't require green. But I just find that when you buy the boxes of those, I think they're like 1032s. I'm not sure the thickness. Can't remember if that's right. But they're green, so you already know they're typically designed for those threaded ports inside the metal box. So you already know that that's going to be okay. But it doesn't necessarily call out that they have to be green for those. Whereas, as I show you on a device, it does call out for it to be green. That's kind of interesting. And then the only other green requirement for a screw, obviously, is your main bonding jumper. If you're going to use a screw for that, then that's required to be green. That makes sense? All right. Let's see here. Good morning, Paul. I have seen different iterations of voltage drop formulas. Are they interchangeable, or are these different formulas for different situations? Well, it depends. You have voltage drop depending on what you know, for example, right? You need to know certain things, right? So we need to know the distance one way. We need to know what the load is at the end. And one of the differences is we can use voltage drop calculation to determine what conductor size we need. So you're plugging in circular mills and you're exchanging circular mills and things like that, depending on what you're trying to find. So yes, you have multiple formulas depending on what variables you know. So like if I know the load at the end and I know the distance one way, and I know that I'm going to be using the known value, say 12.9 for copper, right? And I know all this stuff, then it makes it easy to do your voltage drop. So, but depending on what values you have, that's going to be what the difference, all right? So the typical formula, 2 times K times I times L divided by the circular mill, okay, will give you the percentage, right? Or you could do 2 times K times I times L divided by the actual voltage drop for, let's say, a 3% voltage drop, if that's what you're doing for a branch circuit, right? Right, so basically you're gonna go, okay, so if it's 120, then you go times 3%, so that's 3.6 volts. That's what you're putting, the actual volts that drop. So then you've got that formula, 2 times K times I times L divided by the actual voltage drop will give you conductor sizings in circular mill. Then you can go chapter 9, table 8. So it really depends on what you're dealing with, but you gotta know the amp load at the end, you gotta know the length one way. Now, only difference between this and 3-phase is you exchange that 2 for a 1.732. Now, there are other ways that you can do it. There are other formulas that even get even more precise for certain applications, but that's generally going to get you where you need for voltage drop. And so for an exam, that's pretty much all you need. In the real world, I recommend you get our free mobile app. Beautiful segue, right? Get our free mobile app, and we have voltage drop calculators already in there, so nobody should be needing to do this math in the field by hand. If you're in the field, just use a calculator. It's just going to make life just so much easier. Dan says I always use lay-in lug or stake-ons. Okay. Again, as long as the connections or everything is compliant with 250.8, then you have plenty of options. Okay, 250.8 gives you a lot of options, from the pressure connectors, which is wire nuts, to again threaded entry, at least 2 threads, to a tap, to put it in and put a nut on it. Many different options. Okay, many different options. Isaac, you are most welcome. Again, the most common one is to just find the length, the distance one way. Know what load you got to have at the end. Now, that's another question that people ask. They say, what load do I use? Well, if you don't know the load, then you're going to go with the maximum value for the circuit. For example, if it's a 20 amp circuit and you don't have any idea what the load is going to be, then base it on 20 amps. Because can you pull 20 amps on a 20 amp circuit? Absolutely. It doesn't kick into continuous load until it's 3 hours or more at its maximum output, 20 amps being its maximum output. If it's not going to be running at 20 amps for 3 hours or more, right, then it's not a continuous load. So can it pull 20 amps? Absolutely it can. That's how the devices are tested. Okay, so a lot of misconceptions about that as well. So, and if it's a continuous load, then you have to account for a continuous load. So if I had to take care of that, I'm going to be sizing accordingly. One advice I do give people when it comes to voltage drop is that be sure, you've heard, and you probably have heard me say this before, be sure to always take care of the load first. Take care of the circuit as if there wasn't a voltage drop issue. That's the first thing that I tell people that they get confused on voltage drop is, is that, look, size everything like it would normally be based on your load, the amps needed, all this kind of stuff, the overcurrent, size everything like you normally would. Once that's done, then you can start focusing on things like voltage drop. And it's not a requirement, as y'all know, in the code, but except for fire pumps and sensitive electronic equipment, which have to work on a very volatile range of voltages, and could have some kind of consequence if it's not. And in a fire pump application, for example, we want that motor to burn up. We want it to not go off because of overloads. We want it to continually running until it fails. Okay, we're not so much concerned about saving the building. It may save the building, but the real focus is to do what? The real focus is to buy enough time to get people out of the building. That's the key focus. Okay. One of the things just real quickly, but please post your questions. Let me know where you're from as well. I always like to see where everybody's following from. But one of the things I want to talk about is in your company, if you're an owner of the company and you have to identify a leader, or if you want to be a leader in your company or you're going to be moving up, there's key identifiers that contribute to leadership in effectiveness and what motivates somebody to be a leader. This was an interesting chart that or a layout that I saw, and this is in our leadership program. What motivates somebody to want to be a leader, because we've got leaders and we've got followers. We need them both, right? It's what makes the world go around. But if you ever notice the traits of a good leader is they're motivated to lead others. They always seem to step up and want to take a leadership role rather than kind of sit back and that type of thing. Their tenacity and resilience means that they don't give up easily. You can beat them down, but they always come back for more. That's a trait of a leader. The drive to achievement and achieve success is, they have a plan. There's plenty of people out there, and again, don't be offended. Don't be offended if you work somewhere for 30 years and you're happy with your salary, you're happy, you don't want to be a leader, and it's okay, right? We need followers as well as leaders, okay? And it doesn't mean at any given time somebody can't step up and take a leadership role, okay? So that's important. Dan, Chicago, chilly. It's 17 here, so I can only imagine what it is in Chicago. And Isaac, San Antonio, Texas. All right. So I saw they had a train derailment out there in Texas a couple of days ago. That was awful. I don't know what was going on when that truck tried to cross that track and just sat there in the middle. I guess it bottomed out or something, but that was terrible. Here to Christmas, it killed the conductor and the engineer on that train. Awful. Terrible. And then, of course, there's other people that want to be leaders simply because they're motivated by power, okay? That type of thing. Motivator, I just kind of see some of the analysis for people to motivate to lead. Well, when people go into a leadership role, they see themselves as a leader. They think he is obligated to help his company by being a leader, and he is willing to deal with the frustration he might encounter as a leader. Every leader is going to deal with frustration, whether it's the people that work for you don't want to give as much to it as you do, right? And so you get frustrated with that and realize that they're not going to, all right? That's one of the things that in my mentoring class that I explain to people who say, how come, and I have the same frustration, especially when I'm on TikTok or whatnot, when you post something and people comment and the comments are just really stupid comments. Although I say there's no stupid comment, I've learned differently. There's no stupid question, but there are definitely stupid comments. And I've seen my share of them on TikTok. I'm just saying. And Instagram and on Facebook and that type of thing. But at the end of the day, a leader can quickly, if you're a leader in your company or want to be, you can quickly get frustrated because other people don't see things the same way you see them. And there's people that'll say, well, I don't care. It's not my company. There are people that say, hey, I can't see it from my house. All those things are not leadership traits, right? But from a leader, somebody who's leading, whether you're a project manager or you're the owner, it can get frustrating because people don't see it. Now, and some people will say, well, the reason they don't see it is because their pockets aren't getting lined as yours are. And that is probably one of the biggest misconceptions out there when it comes to businesses and ownership is that you hear how people always say, pay yourself first. Obviously, those people have never been in business before. Whereas you're struggling, you're starting out in business, and you think, pay yourself first. A tax person, a CPA, for example, will always say, pay yourself first. How the hell do you pay yourself first when you still got to pay your vendors, right? I still have to pay the vendors. I still have to pay my bills. I got insurances I got to pay. I got other burdens that have to be met. And you say, pay myself first. Well, that's a quick way to go out of business. Now, if you're in business and you're well established and you've got plenty of monies in the coffer and you've got people and okay, pay yourself. But that's a big misconception that people think that just because you own the company and you're doing projects that the employees say, well, I ain't working a little extra. I ain't doing anything more for the company because he's making all the money and I'm working hard. Well, first of all, you're getting a paycheck. Okay. And you can always leave. You don't have to stay there if you don't like it. This is what I say about the strikers, for example, on Amazon. You don't have to stay. You can leave. I say that all the time. It's why I'm not really big on unions. I don't have anything against the union, but I'm not, because there are a lot of people in that strike that probably don't want to strike. They need the money. It's holiday. And the ones that are striking are the ones probably have tenure or getting good money anyway, and that type of thing. So for me, I just never been a big fan of that type of thing. But you'd be surprised how many people literally think that because you're the owner of the company that you're making bank, and they're making the small leftovers. No, I know plenty of business, and I'm consultant to contractors who are doing good money but still struggling to pay themselves anything, because they, in order to keep that business and keep their employees employed, they're spending more on that, and they're hardly able to make their own personal payroll. And but immediately the employees think that, oh, he just is doing so well. The company's got to be doing so well. Things aren't always as peachy as they see. I always say this too. It's like Facebook. You ever have your high school, you connected on Facebook to people, and they look like their life is perfect. Everything they post is just, they're always so happy and peachy and everything. And in the backstory is their life is just in turmoil, right? It's the appearance that they like to give on social media. Everybody's got something that's down in their demon that they don't want out there, or whatever it is, type of thing. It's funny. I had a guy sent me a text, and I think he thinks it bothers me. He had a guy that sent me a text he said, I know your address, as if my address isn't all over the place. Then he says, you're an animal abuser. And I looked at that and I went, are you talking about the incident that happened in 1999 where I owned a set of boarding kennels and grooming salons, and we had 4 dogs that were abandoned in our care? And I wasn't involved much with that, but I'm the owner. I owned all those facilities. If y'all didn't know that, I did own dog grooming and boarding facilities back in the 80s and 90s, as well as electrical contracting and everything. And so he thought it was a big deal to point that up. And I said, well, if you had read, you would have seen that I was acquitted of all that, because it had nothing to do with me. But it still had to go its process. And then, of course, we had people that proved it. But I still get somebody that sends me that thinking that bothers me. 24, almost 25 years ago. And I'm like, did you not bother to actually read it and see what it said? Or do you just thought you were going to get me riled up? Because nothing gets me riled up. I might act like I get riled up, but it doesn't. There's nothing you can do or say to me that causes me that would cause me anything to get worried about, and not. So I built a great company. But the point of the matter is that there are people out there who, do relish or try to relish in other people's, it ruined their day. You can't, I'm so blessed. I'm dealing with a wife that's struggling with Alzheimer's, and moved back to Virginia. Oh, by the way, yes, I own multiple homes. I do own the one in Texas still. So for that poster out there, yeah, you're right. It's pretty easy to find out where I am at, because it's all over our website. Okay. Our office is in our home. So it's not too hard, but, at the end of the day, it's amazing how people always want to tear other people down. And so that's what you have with employees sometimes. So a leader can look beyond that, but you could be a leader, just a project manager, and want to be a leader. And you have to remember that the good you do for the company you work for is going to pay off dividends for you as the employee. You may say you won't get taken care of, but you will. I spent 11 years at Encore Wire, and Encore Wire has always taken care of me. Always taken care of me. You might be working at a company where you do not feel they take care of you, but they pay your salary. You may not agree with your salary. You may think you're worth more. Everybody thinks they're worth more. I mean, we can't all sign those deals like those quarterbacks and stuff in football where they get $150 million just to play football. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you always have the option to leave, go somewhere else. But if you become a leader, then what happens is you become valuable to the company. You become somebody that actually becomes worth more than just a laborer, right? And so my advice with leadership to apprentices, to journeymen, to project managers, make yourself so valuable to the company. And believe it or not, stop thinking that it's all give everything to me and think about what you can give to the company. Now, yeah, you might be making the owner money. That's the whole point of the business. That's why he hired you, to make him money. He didn't hire you just to hire you, that type of thing. Okay. Oh, by the way, if you do have code comments, I'm just kind of having a discussion here, a coffee chat here this morning. No real lesson today, but there will be one tomorrow. So make sure you do bookmark it or mark your calendar for tomorrow, because we will be doing a lesson tomorrow. So just kind of having a conversation. Feel free to chime in if you're an owner of a business and you encounter these things. But leaderships, you have to be leader. You have to have the drive, right? So those type of things are key factors. But if you're a follower, it's okay too. Just realize that you're following somebody, and they want to make a business for themselves. They want to grow their business, and you need to help them grow their business. It may be that you should volunteer to learn estimating. You should volunteer to lead a crew. You should volunteer to work extra hours if you need to. And you should, if you're in a crunch and you need to get a project done in order to stay on track, then you give that time up to be a team player. Now, there's other people that say, well, I don't want to do that. I've got family. Family should always come first. But again, it's not always just so black and white. It is area where you're like, I've got some time. It's areas that you can pick to give to the company, okay, and help their company grow. Hey, what's up, Richard? Good morning, Anaheim. More from out in California, early out in California. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that part of it. What about leadership and drive and achievement motive? Okay, so people that really move up in entrepreneurs and people that move up in a company, see if these traits are anything you have, that you want to be the leader, you want to be that go-getter in the company you work for, or maybe you determined that you want to own your own company. All right, well, those people that move up or have a high level management or want to be managers achieve it through their efforts and take responsibility for success or failure. All right. So don't be so eager to pass the buck. If you're heading up a project or something doesn't go right, or you're bidding and you don't get it right, or you're out there doing a service call and your price and you're a little bit, it ends up doing more work and your price was a little low. It's you know what? You have to suck that up and accept that you got it wrong and learn from it. I find that most people that I know that become extremely successful have failed. I have failed. Donald Trump has failed. Joe Biden continually fails. So at the end of the day, you have to learn from those failures. Okay. So take pride in your achievements, success, but also own up to failure as well. You got to take moderate risks that can be handled through their own efforts. Means that you can control. You can control your risk level that you're willing to take. You know what I'm saying? You can control that. Also, all leaders, and I ask this all the time, all leaders will take criticism and be able to take it constructively, the feedback. Now, not all feedback has to be critical. And then it doesn't have to be negatively hateful. Okay. When people post comments, for example, on social media, I don't take that as feedback. A lot of the stuff I take as just being nasty comments that are just stupid. and they're not worthy of me posting. So somebody says, well, why don't you share your comments? Do you really think that I want to let my stream on social media turn into a shit show from people who post stuff that have no clue? Like there's some guy on there that thinks that the little tab between the screws on a receptacle is not capable of handling 15 or 20 amps. Even if it's a 15 amp device, do they not understand the testing that goes through UL 498 and what those receptacles have to encounter to make such stupid statements on TikTok and then keep on until they're blue in the face? You know, I don't get upset at it. I like to play off of them and make people think I'm upset about it. But at the end of the day, it's like, really, do you really believing that stuff? So I can't share that stuff in comments for people because it's just, I'm not letting it taint the whole chat and turn it into, and I could leave it and that gives me a bunch of clicks and I get a bunch of followers from people that I don't want to follow. I don't want people following me that are that stupid. I'm just saying. Anyway, leaders typically introduce novel, innovative, and creative solutions. One thing I've noticed about people, especially the people I mentor, is they always seem to, if there's a problem they encounter, I always used to say, my bosses used to tell me this years ago, they used to always say to me, and my mentor that taught me electrical used to always say, I don't want to necessarily hear any of your problems without the solution. So I would used to teach my employees, the apprentices and electricians that work me back at Electrical Service Specialists. I would always teach them, I'm like, I know you got problems, you run into problems, but here's an exercise for you. Don't come to me. I mean, because you know the solution may cost money, so I'm going to have to approve it. But don't come to me with just a problem unless you've thought about a solution. And that helps build leaders because then they don't just come running to you with every little crying thing that they have to stop and think about it and say, boss, we got a problem. But you know what? I've got some solutions. What are your thoughts? That's what I like to see. And when I see somebody do that, especially a young person that now again, the attention span today, I mean, I have ADD, I get it, but the attention span today on things are terrible, terrible. But when I have people come to me with a solution, even when code people send me stuff and then they say, is this code compliant, blah, blah, blah. And then they end up saying something like, this is what my thoughts are on how I could fix this if it wasn't code compliant. I like seeing that. For me, it helps differentiate leaders and followers. But that's just something I internally look at and determine that. Also, all leaders, I'm a belief that all leaders, people that want to lead, actually have some type of goal in mind, whether it's own their own business someday, lead a crew. But your goal could be as simply as I want to have my first house, so I need to make sure I make enough money to put it away to make things better for my family. Noble things to think, I want to make sure that I'm out of debt by the time I'm 45, that I want to own my house by the time I'm 50. If you can do that, if you do that earlier than that, amazing. To be financially secure, because you never know, we're all one major incident away from poverty. Okay, I used to say that all the time. It only takes one catastrophic event to put us from one plateau of comfort to another one that's not so comfortable, right? One of my goals in business years ago was I kept telling myself I want to get to a point in life where I'm not worried about the next paycheck. And sadly, today, the vast majority of people are living paycheck to paycheck. And so that poverty line for them or their way of living is very volatile. And so I'm not saying invest in stock markets. I'm just saying you need to be, if you're young, I can tell you this as an old fart. People say this all the time. I used to watch these TV shows or whatever, and they said, if you just put $100 a week away, and then you used to think to yourself, well, shit, I ain't got $100 a week to put away. Because if I had $100 a week to put away, I'm going to spend it on my family. I get it. But from a guy that looks back now, 38, going on 39 years later, if I had just taken and put $50 away in a savings account that draws interest or something like that, the CIT banks or other banks that are online, Ashley Bank or whatever, these ones that give good, decent interest rates, 4%, 5%, whatever it is. And if you had just been doing that and just say, look, it's no different than if they're taking it out of your paycheck. Okay. I did have one employee back in the day who would ask me to take out money out of his paycheck. He paid taxes on it, but he asked me to take it out and keep it for him. All right. And put it in and just keep it aside for him. And we kept a running total. I didn't have a problem doing it. We didn't do it in a bank. We did it in-house, but that's just what they wanted. And at the end of the year, he would take that lump. He already paid taxes on it, right? That type of thing. So that was just something that he wanted, and it allowed him to put that money aside. You really need to think about putting money aside, and leaders think about their goals in life. Think what they want to achieve, what you want to own. Do you want to be out of debt? Okay, what things do you want to have? My goal was always to not have to worry about the next bill and to make sure that I had enough for my family not to have to suffer and worry about this unexpected bill that comes in, that type of thing. Good morning, Roy from Tennessee. Thanks for joining me. So that was one of my goals in owning your house. And this is look, we're family here. It's not braggadocious to say if you own multiple homes. I own multiple homes. It's not bragging. I'd like to sell one of them. Okay, if you're interested in buying, the one in Texas is for sale. That was never my goal. I don't want to be a landlord. People are trying to tell me to rent it. I've rented homes before for people. I don't like it. I don't like being a landlord. I don't like being a 1,200-mile landlord. Long distance, even though I have a management company that takes care of that in Texas. I don't want nothing to do with that crap. So that was never my goal. My goal was to own, one of my goals was to own my house by the time I was 40. So I was able to achieve that, blessed to achieve that. Pay off all my cars, not have any bills. I have not had any bills in over 10 years. So it was one of my goals. And again, that's, if you're in business and you're watching this and you're thinking, well, there's Paul bragging again. I'm not. You don't know me then. Maybe it's best you don't even watch my stuff because I'm not bragging. I'm real with you. Okay. And that was one of my goals and I achieved it. And it meant that when I worked for somebody else as an apprentice or when I was early in my career as a helper, I worked for a company called W.E. Brown and Robertson Electric. Okay. And I was, 17 years old, 18 years old before I started a company, AA Electric, with my brother. I was in the field. I was working for other people. And I was always that guy that was like, who's willing to go up in the lift? I'll do it. Who's willing to go up on the tower? I'll do it. Who's willing to go down in the trench? I'll do it. Because I felt like I was going to learn something from every experience. And that carried me into my own company. And other than working for NEMA in the city of Richmond and the city of Alexandria and in Encore, that's the only really, other than work for myself. And that whole time I've had my own companies. That's really the only, and I've owned my own businesses and I've struggled. Most people know the story of Radio Pet. Radio Pet was one of my corporations. I had a partnership with a company in Ireland. I was one of the key people that brought the underground fencing systems to the market. Had a lot of the technology that I was involved with early on when I was younger. And so Radio Pet was growing pretty good at a pretty good clip. You can go back on the, what do you call the website, Wayback History thing? If y'all ever try to do that, go back on that, what is it called? The Wayback Machine, and go put in radiopet.com, RADIOPET.com. Anyway, that was my corporation years ago. I had multiple stuff going on, electrical contracting, engineering design. I had the Radio Pet. I had Canine Grooming Incorporated, grooming, boarding kennels, and electrical contracting, electrical service specialist, all this stuff going on, trying to juggle everything, thinking that was the answer. Instead of having one thing that does extremely well, I thought, well, why don't I have a bunch of stuff that does moderately well, right? The problem is I was spread way too thin. So I had all these trademarks and everything and these designs, and we were selling dog remote training collars, all kinds of pet stuff, all this kind of stuff. And I had a handshake with an Ireland who was overseeing our production of the actual boards and everything. Well, I learned pretty quickly that a handshake deal means squat, because it cost me nearly $1 million that I had to pay off to publishers that I had committed to publishing in magazines. And my partners dumped me on it, and I was stuck with it. And rather than file bankruptcy, I took just all the money that we had in that account at that time, which again, this is 25 years ago, 20 years ago. And I took all of that money, which, $1 million in just liquid funds is a lot back then. And I just paid off all of my people that I had made commitments to. And then I just shut that shit down. I was like, no, you know what? Since I don't manufacture it, I didn't want to go to China exclusively for that. I didn't have the capabilities to build out a facility here in the US. So I was like, I'm done. And I just literally emptied the account, paid everybody off, and just shut the damn thing down. You can still look at it. Go Radio Pet online. You can go to the Wayback Machine and look for Radio Pet. You'll find it. You can Google it. Radio Pet, Harrisonburg, Virginia. You'll find it. People say I'm full of crap. I'm an open book. You can find out anything you want about me by Googling it and looking online. I don't hide anything, okay? Because this journey has been an amazing journey, right? So I wouldn't do a thing different. I would not do a thing different in my life, the journeys that I've had and what I've done. What's up, David? Electrical inspector from Minnesota. Welcome. I bet it's kind of chilly in Minnesota type of thing. What's up, Bryson? Commercial refrigeration tech from Kentucky. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for joining me. Remember, guys, you can always have a part in what we talk about on these mornings. Anything that's you've ever wondered about, anything that you want me to discuss, any topic you want, all you got to do is go to paulabernathy.com. Just mark that down. Paul, P-A-U-L, Abernathy, A-B-E-R-N-A-T-H-Y. Okay. In fact, I will put it down here in the chat. And basically, y'all didn't know I could join the chat, did you? And I'm going to put it down here. So basically, that is where you would send me topics, questions, whatever you want me to talk about. This is just a casual morning that I want to come on. Y'all know that I don't do a lot of videos anymore. So I'm doing more. We have more coming for the Fast Tracks Tube in 2025. But I wanted to launch a daily show just to answer questions, to connect with you in the mornings. And plus, I enjoy it. People say, did I miss doing my Wednesday night sessions? Absolutely. I miss doing them. But the board of directors wouldn't support it because, again, the numbers were volatile because it was a set time and not everybody could be there in that set time. So this morning show, I do it before the office hours. Okay. So, because I'm still, even though I'm on the East Coast, I still work off Central Coast time because I still am the director of technical services for Encore. So I'm doing this on my time and I don't have to answer to the board. So I just love answering questions and sharing things. That's why I'm doing it. Former student, you're always a student, always a colleague, always a friend. And you can ask me anything. Just most certainly go to paulabernathy.com. Most people know, despite what the nasty stuff they'll say about me, I am pretty approachable. Some people say I'm conceited. Fuck it, get over it. Some people say, "Oh, you shouldn't cuss on here. Get over it." I tell people all the time, those that don't want to follow me, bye-bye. Those that want to learn something will stay. What comes out of my mouth is what you'll get. I have zero filter between here and here, as most of my colleagues will tell you. I'm not in this business to be friendly with everybody. I'm here to say what it is and get what's said done. And if I see something that I don't like, I'll tell you about it. And, I'm not here to worry about if I offend somebody or hurt somebody's fragile feelings, that type of thing. Has that affected me? Has that affected me when it comes to book deals? Absolutely it has. None of the publishers want to work with me anymore. And I'm okay with that shit because that means I ain't got to sit there every day and write that crap. I can do my own blogs. I can do my own thing. Dude, you have no idea the power you can have. So if you're young and you're an apprentice and you're learning and you're wondering what's opportunities for you in this trade, even if you're in business, you own your business, dude, the opportunities are freaking amazing. From service work to getting into high-tech things like doing rings and Alexa devices and smart homes, even if it's the low-cost version, just putting in the Alexa switches and getting people introduced to automation. Dude, contacting your realtors and trying to get them to understand that a house may sell better if you freshen it up, put nice switches, Decora, put new luminaires up, new ceiling fans up. It's all how you market yourself and how you want to go after it. You got to be hungry. You got to be motivated. The shit ain't going to come to you. You got to go to it, right? Long Island, New York. What's up, Charlie? Thanks for joining me. I try to be, Dan. And again, I'm an open book. I don't hide anything. It's like that issue they said about that 25 years ago when, I was brought into this crap because I owned these kennels and we had dogs that were abandoned and they actually gained 30 pounds while they were in our care. The people just dumped them in our kennel. So eventually I'm not in business to house dogs. So we had our office manager took those 4 dogs that were abandoned to the SPCA in hopes that they would find a home. Well, what did the SPCA do? They immediately euthanized them. So then they came back to us and tried to say that I had them killed. Wait a minute. SPCA did that. We didn't do that. We had got their shots. We took care of them. We maintained them. We were a professional boarding facility. We were not a breeder. Okay. And these were sight hounds, by the way. Now, the owners wouldn't pay their bill. They never come back. They never came to see the dogs. I had them things for almost a year, and I took care of them. I got their vet shots done. I paid for all that stuff. But it came time for the busy part of the season, and in that facility, we only had 34 runs, and it was the busy time. You remember, people used to say in the kennel business, again, I'm going off on these stories, but hopefully you find these interesting. People say, Paul, if your kennel stayed full all the time, why don't you expand? And here's how people that don't own businesses don't understand. If you're only full on the weekends, but during the week when nobody's vacationing and going away or doing anything, you've got 30-some runs that are empty, not making you a dime. Why would I only expand for the weekends so that I could have these empty cages during the week? They don't get it. They don't understand business. And a lot of people don't understand business, okay? And so we had to move them out. It was the SPCA that made that decision. So anyway, long story short, it went to court and the judge saw it my way. The judge saw it and he said, dude, this guy did everything he could to take care of those animals. The owners never came back. They didn't supply any food. They didn't give anything, but they came after me. Now, you want to know why they came after me? Are you ready? Because the animal control that was called out after they euthanized the dogs, for no reason, by the way, was friends and family to the people that abandoned them. So that's what came out in court, and that was that corruption. So people don't post that kind of stuff. So people ask, well, Paul, why didn't you just get that expunged since you were acquitted? You were found not guilty. Why? Why spend the money to have it expunged? Why don't you just do a little research and see? So again, I laugh at it. I'm like, dude, it's part of my past. It was something that I went through that I wouldn't encourage anybody to have to go through stuff like that. But I knew I was innocent. Everybody did. The whole town knew I was because we catered to the whole town. Hell, the city manager boarded their dogs at our facility. So it was just a matter of having to go through the process. So it was kind of not funny, and it was unique to see how the process worked. But ultimately, that the animal control officer got in trouble. The SPCA got in trouble. Yeah, it was a big stink. But me, I was found not guilty and acquitted, and everything was done. But it is funny because I never expunged it. It's still out there. Go look for it. See if you can find it. That's your homework, right? So anyway, it's still amazing to me that I'm sure all of you have had your challenges in life. And there's nothing better, and I'll end on this because again, it's just been a great discussion with y'all this morning. Is that life is going to kick you in the teeth. You think you've got everything going, and then all of a sudden, it's like the bottom will drop out of your life. And for all those out there, I do get those emails from time to time of people that are in our trade that are depressed. I have actually done a podcast on those where people feel like they're at their end, that they can't feed their family or they're struggling. I feel I have helped out people when necessary, and you'll never know about any of that because that stuff doesn't matter. It's something that I do personally. Can't do it for everybody, but I pick and choose what I do. At the end of the day, it can always be worse. You, as an electrician, you have this unique skill. And if you don't like where you're working right now, try to find something else. If you, and there's an individual out there who knows who I'm talking to. If you work with a bunch of imbeciles and you just feel like when you go rolling out of that bed in the morning, you just dread going to work. Whereas an electrician, I used to love going to work every morning. I used to think, what am I going to do today? Am I going to create a service today? Am I going to do this? I never looked, I used to get so excited about the first day I was going to do a new rough-in or anything like that. That was just me. I was always excited about what's going to go in. And did I think some things are going to go to shit? Did I think some things are going to screw up? Yeah, that's right. Am I going to have an apprentice or a helper not show up? Probably. Am I going to have an issue where an owner is upset because we're haggling over a price? Yeah. Am I going to be out there working my butt off and then something happens and my family members is something happens and it financially puts me in the negative? Absolutely. Been there, done that. But you got to keep going. You got to keep living, keep pushing forward. And for example, going through now with my wife, there are hateful people out there that will even say hateful things about that. You folks would not believe some of the emails I get from people on Facebook who know about my wife and send me death threats or send me hate mail, wish the worst things on my wife and family. And I would never. There's people I dislike, okay, very few. But usually it's because they've come after me or tried to attack me in some way. And I'm kind of like that Taurus, elephant. I don't forget. And I very rarely forgive. I used to tell my employees all the time, I says, don't screw me. I can be a very generous guy. Don't screw me, because the moment you screw me, I give you 100% of my trust until you take it away. And getting it back, impossible. I don't forgive. I'm sorry. That's just me. I know that's not Christian, Paul. Hey, I'm already pretty much marked off that I'm probably going to end up in hell anyway. So what's the deal? It is what it is. But I don't forgive. You cross me, you're done. It's just like with TikTok. You say something stupid, comment, and I block you, I will never unblock you. You're gone forever. Okay? So if you got something in your crawl that you just got to say, but yet you still want to follow me, you probably shouldn't say it. Okay? Oh, Paul, you're so shallow. You get so offended so easy. No, I just don't. I don't care for the drama. It's not worth it to me. Right? So, what's up, Joe? Joe, licensed electrician working as an assembly worker with jackasses every day. Yeah. for sheer survival, living in a hotel room with my wife and 3 kids, it sucks. Hey, Joe, I get it. The question about it really is, if you are a licensed electrician, let's see what we can do. Okay. Let's see what we can do to help you move beyond that. Okay. Monetarily, that's just a temporary fix. How do you get to the next level? Do you think about start doing some work on your own, some side work? Do you start thinking about building a service-related business? Do you start, working your way towards working for yourself? Do you have a really strong resume that you can share with other people, other companies, to try to find something better? That type of thing. That's the kind of the way that I would look at it. You say you need a camper, okay? That type of thing. What Charlie says, working out 50. Well, that part sucks, Charlie. I get it. 15-degree weather. I get that part sucks. But at the end of the day, there were some things about the cold weather that I enjoyed. And that was, we always had those heaters. And you don't get as much work done in cold, okay? Because you spend a lot of time over at the heater and shooting the shit. But some of the times that I spent with the guys during the cold days were interactions that I'll never forget, okay? But yes, it sucks. But again, we usually say that's electricians. That's why we get the big bucks, because we're willing to get out there in the cold and get what's done. Also, I will say that I will put it this way. Working in the cold, I did not have a problem investing in working in the cold. In other words, our company, we had 2 of those propane heaters, the ones that look like the torpedoes. We had one of those going on each side of the house. And fuel was just, at the time, fuel's expensive, but also my comforts are expensive as well. And I would never, for my guys, I had to make sure that we had heaters. And that they constantly had these heaters. Also, it's all, again, I could never work in the gloves because I had that feel. So I always had the gloves with the tips of the fingers gone, okay, and the thumbs gone, so I could still work with the fingers, that type of thing. And so, yeah, you just have to adapt to it. But some people literally love it. And I know maybe you're being, facetious, I guess, on it. Maybe Charlie is like, love it. It's cold. But, now today, being in my late 50s, would I want to work out in 15-degree weather? Hell to the no. Okay? No. But if you're young, now my brother, let me tell you what. I just gave my brother for Christmas 2 of those hand warmers that are USB. You plug them in. They got them at Costco. And they're hand warmers, and they'll last like 9 hours. I got him 2. A lot of people get one, they put it in their pocket and put both hands on it. No, I got him 2 so that he can charge us, because they also work as a battery bank to charge your phone in case his phone's on site and has an issue with his phone, he can charge it. But these things put out heat. He put them in his pocket. So when he's cold, his fingers are getting cold, he reaches down in there and he can just warm them up and get to work. Okay. He's in his 60s and he'll be out there today. It is 17 degrees here in Virginia. His butt will be out there today. He's working on a big home, right? No, absolutely. Wait, Trust is not doing it for free. Hell no, I'm not. Okay. I always, if you're going to do work on a home and they want it done in the wintertime, maybe you're good enough in your pricing. You're using an estimating software. Maybe you're good enough in your pricing that you have a inconvenience fee. Again, it's hard to have that when you're competing against other people, but maybe you develop it into your system that you can have that. So, you have a inconvenience fee that you're charging the customer, that type of things. Okay. So, it's one of those things. Joe, Faith Technologies kept me outside in the Minnesota, Wisconsin winter for 3 years straight on a solar farm. Yeah. And Faith Technologies, I think, do a whole lot of those solar farm projects. But yeah, man, Minnesota and Wisconsin in the winter. Woo. Now, hopefully, one of the things, and they might have or might not, is making sure that they have heating stations, that they allow you to take adequate breaks, that they keep it, again, that is out in the field. But they should have warming stations where the guys can go in and get warm. If I was doing a project like that, I would probably have, and I was going to do a bunch of projects there, I would probably have a couple of their just sheds, insulated sheds with heaters in them placed around the facility so that people, when you need a break, come in. And typically I would allow somebody to take a break every hour. They could take a 10-minute break. So it was a 50 and 10. If it was extreme cold like that, not everybody's the same. And it's easy to say that because I'm not that company. But if it was extreme cold, I would think as a company, I have way more risk to liability like frostbite or whatever like that than I do of the cost of having some kind of heating station. And the same would be for a cooling station in the middle of the summer. If you're somewhere where it's over 100 degrees regularly, that have somewhere where they can get water and a cooling station or something that they can cool off. Okay, that type of thing. Maybe something with a mini split or something, but not going to work when it's down real cold. They don't work too well. But anyway, yeah, not every company's the same, and not every owner's the same. And there's a lot of owners out there that aren't real thoughtful about their employees. Okay, but it's getting better in some cases like that. So, Joe, I hope your situation, I'll pray for you that your situation will get better. But I often say to people, we have to come up with reasons. We have to find creative ways to make our situation better because sometimes people ain't going to do it for you. And I do believe there's probably somebody around you, close to you, that can help give you a leg up rather than a handout and help you get to the next level in what you want to be. Now, I will say I had a lot of electricians at work that I talk to a lot who are transient. In other words, they do live out of hotels and motels and things like this because they're moving from job to job, project to project. And then it's on them eventually to determine where they want to settle down and what they want to do. There are jobs available all over the country still. To find out where you want to be, where you want to go, how you get there, and be diligent with it and keep hammering away at it. Polish up that resume, embellish your work as much as possible, and keep applying and keep looking. And things will brighten up. I can tell people, this is just one story to tell people. When I started out, and I got married at 18. Okay, this is no shit. I wanted to own. I was working with my brother, but I was also managing some grooming salons in Charlottesville, Pet Motel and Salon on 5th Street. But I was working, doing electrical, and I was trying to do that, always hustling, even young. And finally decided to open up my electrical contracting business and a pet grooming salon in Harrisonburg, Virginia. Okay, decided I was going to do this. And I would do the electrical in the evenings and on weekends, and I would get somebody to start out working for me. And then during the week, I would groom. So that's another little known thing about me. I was a professional groomer as well, competed on grooming circuit, had a big following of people. I used to groom dogs as well. I did a little of everything. It's all transparent. You can go online and look it up. I won the Intergroom years ago. And I loved doing electrical and that. And finally, one day, my brother said to me, you got to make a decision. You either dedicate 100% of your time to AA, or you're going to have to do something else. And so I said, F it. And I just said, F it. I didn't have no money. My dad gave me a $5,000 loan. He didn't have no money. That allowed me to buy the equipment I needed. I already had some electrical stuff. So I went to Harrisonburg and started a business. And how did I get clients? I went to the pet food aisle of the Krogers and the Food Lions or whatever, and I passed out business cards. And on one side of it had electrical stuff on it. The other side had the pet grooming stuff on it. I took advantage of the business cards at the time. I built that business up But for the first year, we had nowhere to live. I literally slept in the building, the grooming salon. It had a wall that separated the front. I had a mattress that we would put in the closet, in the bathroom. You had to meet commercial sized bathroom because it was in our strip type of, like an outside strip mall thing. It was right next to a veterinarian, so that was helpful. In the evening, I'd pull the mattress out and me and my wife would sleep on the floor. During the day when we're working, we push the mattress back in the closet and we would groom. And in that same bathroom, I'd store my electrical stuff to do electrical work at night or in the evening. Or when I had 3 dogs I had to get done with my wife, then she would stay there and do everything she needed to do, check out the dogs, and I would head off to a project. If I had a house I was roughing in, I would do it at night with lights. I would do it on weekends. And any time that I could do it, I was burning the candle at both ends. But that's what I needed to do at the beginning. And so it was almost a year. I didn't own a house. I didn't own anything. I slept on the freaking floor. Now, that's not for me to say, Paul, your situation is it. I don't need nobody's sympathy. I don't ever want it. Okay? I decided that I needed to make a change and I needed to do it. And I wasn't going to let anybody else dictate what I do, whether I failed or not. So that's what I did. And then that turned into buying an acre lot and building a building on it that was a boarding kennel, grooming salon. And then one side of it was the electrical contracting and engineering design. Okay. So that grew from that one little pet place and me working and doing electrical at night, right? To that building, to that facility and that type of thing. And then that even grew. But it started from sleeping on the floor. Okay. This is all trackable info. You can go search it, Google it, find it. Canine Grooming Incorporated, Harrisonburg, Virginia. Go Google it. I don't make this crap up, right? So literally within 6 months, I paid my dad off his $5,000. My mom wouldn't even give me a loan. God bless her. She said, Paul, you do so many damn things that you can't focus on any one thing. She's right. But I was focused on business and making it. And my dad saw that. My dad always had a dream. He lived vicariously through all of us kids. But when mom said no, he turned around and handed me a check. And he didn't have it. He had just enough to cover that check. And with that, I bought the supplies I needed, what I needed to the marketing, advertising stuff, what I needed to get into business. Paid my first and last month lease, everything at that. And within 6 months, I was able to pay him off cash. Cash is king, baby, especially in that retail business. I'm just saying. So anyway, that's where I came from. And so when I hear people today that'll send me stuff and say, Paul, you don't work in the field no more. Paul, your hands, you don't do it. When's the last time you roughed in something? Shut the F up. I paid my dues. I wired my share of houses. You can Google it. You can check Texas. You can check Virginia. You can look up licenses. I've held licenses. I don't need to answer to anybody. So when I hear people that whine like that, I immediately block you because I can see you're a very transparent person, right? If like my brother's in his 60s and he's still in the field, I work smarter now, not harder. I do not want to have to pull cable. There's nothing wrong with it. I just knew that I had a better calling for what I do, and that's where I went. My brother is one of the best electricians I've ever met. I like to call him the MacGyver of electrical. He can make anything work. He can do plumbing, mechanical at a high level. He's built homes before. He does electric. He can fix freaking anything. I mean, anything. I can't do that. I am not as talented as he is. Well, code, I was always his code guy. Still am to this day. Okay. And in doing wiring, I did really neat work, but there is no way in hell that I could keep up with the pace that my brother keeps, even at 60s. I don't get it. I don't understand it. His body always hurts. His arms hurt. He's been lifting overhead all his life. His shoulders are shot. His back is messed up. And he's like many of you out there. He just keeps going and going and going. It's because he's got that drive. He's a business owner. He works for himself exclusively now. He's very selective what he does in his 60s. God bless him. But, that's available to any of you, right? So I've still got the scars. I've still got the cuts. I've still got this from working in the field 20 plus years. I've been in those trenches. I've done just about everything in the field because I wanted to do everything. I was volunteered to do certain things. You don't owe anybody an explanation. I don't owe anybody an explanation. They have one choice. They can choose to not follow me or not be associated with me, and that's your prerogative. And I welcome that. Or you can learn. All right. Anyway, that's what we got for today. Just a nice coffee hour. Looks like it's a coffee hour and a half. Thank you all for staying with me. Remember, you can actually choose the topics that you want for coffee hour. All you got to do is just go to paulabernathy.com and just let me know a brief explanation of a topic you want me to talk about that you think it would be great for others to learn from. Maybe you have a personal situation that you're dealing with in your company or you're working for somebody and you want to ask me. I will never share your name. Promise you that. And I will expand and give you my thoughts on it. And if it helps somebody, that's great. If it doesn't, okay, it's just an opinion. You're free to move on. All right. All right, folks. Hopefully you got something out of it today. Take care. God bless. Be safe. And most importantly, work very hard to be prosperous. Peace.